You've been rushing the success of your business and the goal you're trying to pursue because you think you're going to miss the call on your life, but you're not. No, just praying for it is not going to bring the success that God has for you. You think everybody is neglecting you, but they're not. They're too focused on themselves, just like you are. So it feels like nobody is watching, but somebody is always watching. And the solution to that problem is right in front of you. You just have to reach out and grab it. And by the end of this video, you're going to be on the road to a profitable life following the plant, the process, and the profit life structure. Now let's get into it. Now, when we think of entrepreneurs, right? When I say Apple, who do you think of? Steve Jobs. And guess what? He died a long time ago. But yet we still think about him because he has a magnificent story that we can all take lessons from. He was one of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time. He was known to be the co-founder of Apple and the creator of the Macintosh, the iPod, and the iPhone and the iPad. He was widely known and changed the landscape of technology as we see it today. Like, I wonder how he would move in this time era with AI and how advanced technology is. But I don't believe we would have been where we are today without his help. The seeds he planted when he was running Apple and starting his companies, it kickstarted to where we are today. It's how you're watching me right now. It's how I'm talking to you right now because of some of the technology that Steve Jobs himself created. But Steve's journey did not start as glamorous as we think it did. We always think that the celebrities and the famous people, they just woke up one day and boom, was famous. We think they just woke up one day and was, oh, I think I want to go create an iPhone. No, that's not how their majority of their story started. And Steve Jobs' story did not start that way. It was actually the complete opposite. See, when Steve Jobs was getting ready to be born, his mother wanted to give him up for adoption. And he almost didn't have any parents because his adopted parents were going to cop out at the last minute because they said they wanted a girl. But the tide shifted. Steve was eventually adopted into the family and he made his way to college, where he eventually dropped out and just was not interested in the classes that he was having to take, the classes that were being forced on him to take because of, I assume, the major he had. So he took a leap of faith, and guess what? He dropped out of school, but he still attended classes. He still went to classes, but he went to the classes that he wanted to go to, the ones that caught his interest. And he did all this while not having a stable home and scrapping up change to eat. He had to scrape up coins to go get food. And he said himself, he waited on Sundays just to get one fresh, good meal from a local church that was around or community center. Steve did not live a glamorous life on his way to creating the iPhone and becoming a co-founder of Apple. Then he came across a calligraphy course that eventually changed his life. At that time, Steve was planting many seeds in himself that he did not know he would need yet. He wasn't focused on the process. He was just doing what he enjoyed doing, which resulted in him eventually profiting from those seeds he planted in his life. And over 10 years later of his life, it resulted in him being the co-founder and creator of Apple. Like, most of you think the profitable business or the profitable life that you're looking for will come. You think it's going to come tomorrow, next week, next month, possibly next year. But that's not always the case. It won't always come tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. Although it's possible, don't count yourself out. But the only way to eventually see the profitable life, the profitable business that you desire, to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, is planting the right seeds prior to becoming the person who has that profitable life, that profitable business, that goals that you want to achieve, right? It starts with you first planting the seeds. And that brings us to our first point. It's the planting. You cannot skip the process of planting seeds because you need this to get the success you want in your life. God has placed laws on this earth and in this world that govern this world. His principles and his laws are the automations on which we live life. And this is one of them. You need to start planting. Let's talk about the story with David and Goliath, right? David defeating Goliath did not start with him being born into being the strongest man ever to go out and defeat a giant. It wasn't him being born into a king's family and he was the richest and the greatest of his time at the moment. No, it did not start like that. Most of the heroes' journeys that we know of, their journey did not start like that. But guess what? It started by them planting seeds. David was the youngest of his brothers, right? And even his brothers looked down on him and did not believe in him until it was his time to shine. But how did David get there? He got there to defeating Goliath by planting seeds in his life until that time came, until it was his appointed time. Until it was his appointed time, he was continually planting seeds. David was called to tend sheep, right? To keep the flock safe while he was home. And in the meantime, while he was home, he had to defend the sheep from lions or bears while his brothers were off fighting wars, while his brothers were out fighting and protecting. Guess what David was doing? He was at home tending sheep, which he did not know at the time will be one of the reasons why he was able to defeat a giant who was 10 times bigger than him, whose spear was the size of his whole body, probably. David did not know that. He did not despise the small beginnings. There's no reason for you yourself to despise small beginnings because you don't know where your small beginnings are going to take you, just like David. Do you think David wanted to sit there at home while his brothers were out fighting and probably living a more exciting life, while David was probably living the boring life which we would call boring because he was tending sheep? Because he was stuck at home while everybody else was off doing other things? But guess what? Those things, the boring life that you think you are living, is pouring into your future. While everybody is out living their best life, living the life of exciting, the life of social media, looking all good and acting like they're having the best time of their life, guess what you're doing? You're living the boring life. And in that boring life, you're preparing yourself to reach where God needs you to be. So don't despise where you begin at. These were moments in David's life where he was planting seeds for himself without even knowing. He didn't even know. Do you think David knew he was going to go fight a giant? And he was going to go out and have a slingshot and hit him in the head and boom, the giant fall. Then he sliced his head and give it to the fowls, the birds of the air? No, David did not know that. He did not know that. And you think you're going to know whether what you're doing right now is going to bring you to the point where you want to be or reach the success that you want. And you know, the overarching thing of that is you just have to trust God. You don't have to understand. You're not supposed to understand. Because if I was in David's shoes, I wouldn't understand why I'm at home tending sheep, taking care of everybody and the sheep, and when everybody is out living a more exciting and exhilarating more life. And I doubt why David was tending the sheep, right? I doubt it was just one bear or one lion that came to harm the flock, but it was multiple times he had to defend the sheep, which equals to multiple seeds being planted, leading up to the moment he fought Goliath. So every time you face a season of trials or a season of difficulty or a season where you just are in flow state, you're planting seeds for yourself later. Because I know those bears and lions did not just come once and then boom. In the Bible, it says David fought lions and bears. No, I'm pretty sure that was a duration of time where he was actually fighting them periodically anytime he had to tend his sheep. And let's not forget, the people that's in the Bible, they are real people. They're not just no characters of no fictional story. No, put yourself in the shoes of the people in the Bible. Yes, it may seem like you turn the page and boom, David has success. No, that was a period of time, a season of life. And we have to get to the point where we recognize, yes, the Bible is full of hundreds of thousands of pages, right? Hundreds of pages. But this was somebody's life. This is somebody's life that was compressed to fit on these pages. And that when you put yourself in their shoes, you understand that this wasn't just a one day thing. No, sometimes these things were months, years long. This was years long until David fought Goliath. And you think what you want is just going to fall into your lap. You think David woke up one morning and said, you know what? I'm going to go slay a giant. No, it was the process that God was prompting David of, was preparing David of, and planting seeds in David to lead him to defeat Goliath. You cannot expect to live a profitable life if you're not even helping your future self out. What David was doing was preparing himself, helping his future self out by planting seeds. And the seeds he was planting, he didn't even know, was preparing him for the time to go fight a giant. But guess what? He was submitted to God. And therefore, God illuminated his path and showed him the ways to go. Tactically, this is about you focusing on your inputs when it comes to planting seeds. Planting seeds tactically is I'm going to focus on the inputs. I'm going to get up every day to move a step closer to my future. I'm going to get up every day and choose to get better and not get worse. I'm going to wake up every day and get 1% better. Because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And if a object is not moving, eventually it's going to die. But if you are taking steps forward to eventually achieve a goal of yours, you're getting better 1% each and every day. And think about how that compounds over time. See, what you need to do is expand your thinking, expand the way that you see life, because life does not just happen one day, 1 month, 12 months. No, this is a whole journey of life. And think about how much better you can be if you're planting seeds in yourself to get 1% better every day. Maybe that's doing 10 push-ups a day, 50 push-ups a day, running a mile a day, reading 10 pages a book. Think about how that compounds over the whole time period of your life, not just for next week, not just for next month, but a whole time period of your life. You planting enough seeds for yourself to the point where now you're just waiting for the harvest to come. Then it's a game of patience. It's a game of trust, a game of obedience that you're just planting now, and now you're just waiting until the harvest comes. Because do not be mocked. God will not be mocked that you will reap what you sow. Success is a product of you over time planting seeds you needed. You will never reach the desired business venture or goal you want to achieve unless you begin planting. Your time is going to come whether you're ready or not. And what it's going to do is either expose you or reveal you. And I don't know about you. I would rather be on the latter part of that and be revealed instead of being exposed. But you're only going to prepare yourself to be revealed when you plant seeds for yourself every day, consistently, falling in love with the process, falling in love with the journey, because that's what this life is. This life is about a journey of you becoming more like Jesus Christ. It's not about you. It's not about your family. It's not about nobody else, but you becoming more like Jesus Christ, to become pleasing to him so you may serve his people at the highest capacity. And then those people can go and glorify and worship the Lord because you made the decision to become better, 1% better each and every day by first submitting unto God and going out to plant those seeds for your future. But planting is not just enough. Stop looking at the time pass by and start looking at how you're utilizing the time passing by. The process of life you desire is a grieving thing to endure. The process of you getting to the point where you want to do all the things that your heart desires is a grieving thing to endure because you don't know when that time is going to come. But by God's word, trust him, and guess what? It's already done. You simply have to walk into it and know that God already has a table set for you. Do this by focusing on the inputs and not the outputs. See, guess what? The farmer, when he goes out to plant a seed, right? He doesn't go out and harass that crop he just planted yesterday or last week. Simply, he tends to the seed consistently until the plant's time is ready to sprout up. He goes and waters it. He makes sure the soil is clean. He doesn't worry about when it's going to come. He just goes out each day and during the process of tending to that plant. See, time time is one thing that we have to come to terms with. Time is something that's going to pass by regardless. So I believe you should do yourself the favor of planting seeds and enduring the process each and every day, because the sun is going to set and the sun is going to rise each and every day. And guess what? You're only one day closer to the day where you're no longer living on this earth. And you don't know when that date is. So I believe it's in your best interest to go out and get 1% better each and every day. It's in your best interest to go out, plant seeds, endure the process, focus on the inputs, not the outputs, until you see that harvest come. Back to David though, right? When David was in the moment of fighting off lions and bears, again, he did not know that process was preparing him to fight off a whole giant. He didn't know at the moment that one day I'm going to go slay a giant that would change my life. He simply had to trust the process, trust God's process, and continue to focus on the inputs of tending the sheep and fighting off lions and bears, and the process of serving without knowing what it would lead to. And during that process, it wasn't easy. David was looked down upon. It wasn't as if he knew immediately that God was going to make him king prior to when Saul came and anointed him. Not Saul, Samuel, prior to when Samuel came and anointed him. He didn't know that time was going to happen. Just like you don't know when it's going to happen. So do yourself a favor and be prepared. You not using the best of your time because it's not the right time is an excuse. And as time passed by, you're only doing yourself more harm. And a lesson from David's life we can always take from is focus on the inputs and what we do with the time at hand. With the time that David had, what he did: stayed obedient, served, tended the sheep, fought off anything that came towards him. And he didn't despise where he was at in the beginning. Take a page from David's life, from his book, and enjoy the process. In times he probably didn't even enjoy the process himself. But I believe when you submit yourself under Christ, it's like time doesn't even exist anymore because it's just flowing by. You're in flow state. As believers, if we take it upon ourselves to make sure we're connected and in alignment with God's will for our life, we won't have to worry or stress about nothing. So often we go out and fight battles we're not supposed to go out and fight. If we will only listen, be still, and hear his voice. If only we would stay at his feet. If only we would endure the process. If only we would be like Mary and not being so busy like Martha. Sometimes we would hear much more than what the Lord has to say to us. And there's a time in your life where you have to be like Martha and you're running around and you're serving. But there's a time and a season for everything under the sun. And I believe in this time under the sun, it's time for you to trust the process and not focus on when it's going to come. And often the process will not make sense. So don't even trouble yourself with worrying about it. Simply do what you can now and make the best of what you have. Because can a single man add an inch to his life by worrying? Save yourself the trouble and lean into the process by focusing on the inputs, not the outputs, and it'll make the journey so much more enjoyable. What's the point of going through the journey of life if you can't enjoy any of it? What's the point of going through the journey of life if you can't enjoy the freedom that God has given you, the family that God has given you, the job God has given you, the desires of your heart God has given you. What's the point of going through this life then if you're not going to take the time to make it enjoyable? And you're not making it any more enjoyable by you sitting there and worrying about what's next. Because the most grieving thing in life is time. Learn to lean into it and use it the best of your ability, because it's going to pass by anyway. Because in time, the only thing you can do is go through it. You can't get out of time. So sit, be still, and lean into it. You have the plant, you have the process. And guess what that equals to? The part you've been waiting for, the profit. If we're being honest, we're all after some sort of reward, a sort of profit that from the work you have done that you will profit from. If we're being honest, we're all after some sort of reward. We're all after something or some sort of profit from the work that we have endured. For some, it's a waiting in heaven, and for others, it's something of the world. All to say, for all work, there is profit, says King Solomon. You pouring into yourself, it is not wasted. You taking the time to tend to your seeds is not wasted. It's just preparing you for the day of profit. David received profit from defeating Goliath. Was one of the things that drove him to defeat Goliath. And there's nothing wrong with having the promise and the profit as your North Star to go out and serve and do what the Lord has called you to do, right? But I do believe there's also a posture behind it. Because not only did that drive David to go out and defeat Goliath, but he just could not sit around while a Philistine defiled his God. When David came to go see his brothers, and he was just doing what his father had commanded him to do at the time, David went down, and the first thing his brothers said to him was like, "What are you doing here?" And was just beginning hating on him. If I was David, bro, I'm like, "Yo, bro, like, I just came to do what Pops just told me to do. I just came to give you some food or just check on you, you know? Like, what you hating on me for? You got bigger problems to worry about, and you over here hating on me. I ain't even do nothing." And that's how I would have felt if I was David. But as David got there, they started speaking again and saying, "What will the person that defeats Goliath, what would they get?" And David heard that. He was like, "And y'all just sitting here?" As I would imagine David was like, "Y'all just sitting here?" And then Goliath started to defile his God. And I believe that's when that it just switched. Because David knew, he knew that coming in the name of the Lord, that nobody could stand against him. And David was probably just sitting around looking all confused, like, y'all just standing here, he's defiling our God, and then the reward that you get from defeating him, and all you have to do is make sure you come in the name of the Lord Jesus, or Jesus wasn't there at the time, but still coming in the name of the Lord. Like, what? Y'all just sitting here? And David got his sling, ran towards Goliath, ignored the cupbearer in front of him, and defeated him. He said, "I come in the name of the Lord, and this day the Lord will deliver you into my hand." But in all David's toil, it brought him a profit. It wasn't just defeating Goliath, but it was when he was tending sheep, fighting the lions and bears, gaining strength physically and also mentally, learning gentleness and learning love. From all the work that David did throughout his whole life, it all brought a profit. David's name will continue to spread, and his name shall never die. But this was just not handed to him on a platter. It came from the seeds he planted, him enduring through the process, and then him getting the profit. It wasn't just all handed to him. David went through sin. David went through running away from Saul, about being killed, running towards a giant, fighting lions, bears, tending sheep, being looked down upon from his brothers. It wasn't just handed to him. And that's the part of the process that we all try to avoid. But we can't. We have to endure the process in order to get to the prophet. You cannot fast forward to just receiving prophet without planting or a process. Yes, David's story was but a few pages compared to the years of his life, but that does not disregard the fact that a profitable life takes time. So we all can take a page from the life of David and many others that have a profitable life, profitable business, or the life that you desire. It will come in the order of you planting, following the process, and receiving the profit. But you must abide by the law of the farm. So I'll leave you with this. The farmer one day, after tending all his crops, he wakes up in the morning to go out and guess what again? Tend to his crops, continue to plant seeds. He has the same agenda on his mind. But this day, he looks out the window and sees a plentiful harvest, a harvest bigger than he could ever imagine, a harvest he did not expect. And he asked himself, what did he do to see such a profit so nice? And the answer was him planting the seeds, trusting the process, and eventually the profit arrived. So if you made it this far, you're already planting seeds into your life. You're planting seeds into your future. And your future self is thanking you right now. So I hope this video blessed you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Stay blessed.